What is it?
A high-frequency signal with an embedded message.
Again?
I have to tell you guys that as a diehard G1 loyalist, Prime is the best thing that's ever had Transformers associated with it.
Nice.
I am
You're not just saying.
absolutely-
Oh, shucks.
In no
Come
way.
on.
In no way. I was ready to be like, it's Transformers, but it's Transformers. Like, this is what I've been waiting for a really, really long time.
Well, I mean, it comes from the fact that we're all fans. I mean, we grew up on it.
Right.
I mean, we're trying to infuse the things that we loved about G1 into sort of a really fresh, sort of modern sensibility, as well as taking the things that everyone sort of really responded to in the features. I mean, it really is sort of the perfect fusion of everything that you love about Transformers.
Yeah, it's definitely the inmates running the asylum. I mean, it is. I mean, that's how he got me to work here. He called me from my old job. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to be working at Hasbro. Come have coffee with me." And he goes, "How would you like to work on Transformers?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in. Like, don't pay me.
Yeah, I didn't have to say anything else. In fact, I didn't even tell him what he was going to be doing. I just said Transformers.
But no, it's a great time to be working in animation because we're sort of in this renaissance of all the things that we grew up loving, and they're all coming back. And some are very successful, some not so much. And I think that it's when you let your sort of inner fanboy, your inner 8-year-old boy who was sitting there on the couch watching Transformers back in the day, go, well, what would you do? Here's your budget. Go to town. It's really exciting.
Season 2, talk about the evolution. There's a pretty big evolution in the Decepticons, specifically a lot of story going on there. Talk about that and how that affects the Autobots and just creating that Season 2 story.
Again, one of the nice things about television is that the way you're set up production-wise, it's always open to evolve and change. So we're actually typically recording a script, or we're making a script final just days before it records, maybe 48 hours before it records, that script becomes final. And we'll be at that recording session and we'll hear how it's playing. And we may then change where we're going in the next episode or 3 episodes down the line. Usually not a major change, but a weight change. This character, this is really popping, this thing is really working. Right. The actor seems to be having fun with it. Let's play to that a little bit more. So again, unlike a movie maybe where, obviously they're making changes on the fly as well, but the script could live years before they actually get around to producing it. Ours is a pretty constant and ever alive situation. So you get almost instantaneous feedback at that level. From just being in the room listening to the records. Then you get feedback again when you're looking at boards. How do the directors interpret this? Did they get it? Is it working? And then, of course, we get it again when we hear back from fans. And it's never too late for us to go, they loved that or they hated that. Maybe next year we'll find some other way to mirror or never go back there.
I think the key thing in Season 2 is Starscream going rogue. And that is, we decided, at a certain point, you can only take so much of Megatron sort of batting around Starscream. Well, okay, maybe that never gets old, but, we were feeling like, okay, we've done that. Let's look at Season 2 as a true, sort of second act. What can we do that's different? And there's so much I love about the show and everything we've done with it. But the Starscream arcs, no secret. I think are amazing. How he culminated in Season 1 with the episode Partners, and how we sort of built to his decision to sort of leave and go rogue and serve no side, and then it's explored to the hilt in Season 2, and I think we wound up keeping him rogue a lot longer than anybody might have expected, and by the way, not only with dramatic result but hilarious result. We've done some really funny things with him, but I think that's really cool with Stars. He's like, to us like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas or something. Like you're laughing at him 1 second, and then he turns on a dime, and you're very quickly reminded, how evil and insidious and how self-preservational he is. The sort of cruel things he'll do, just out of sheer cowardice. So
we spent an awful lot of time trying to figure out exactly when to bring Starscream back into the Decepticon fold and what circumstances would make that particularly compelling, what would give him a great reason or motivation to go back to Megatron and what his new role would be if he got back to Megatron. And we were having so much fun, as Jeff was saying, finding all the different permutations of how Starscream is out on his own. And that's actually kind of a flip side of what we were doing in season 1 with Megatron being basically in a coma. We initially thought maybe we'll bring him back an episode or two after Darkness Rising, but we realized with this vacuum there, the Decepticons, there's a lot more we could play with Starscream trying to be in command of the team. We found a lot of juicy material in there, so why rush it?
Right, which is the same thing we were talking about earlier. We didn't just play that game with our heroes, where we would throw in a wrench to upset the apple cart. We did the same thing with our Decepticons. We've played with hierarchical, introducing a new character into the mix, or a new level of authority that impacts other characters. Because to us, obviously, our heroes are our heroes, but with weak villains or with uninteresting villains, then the heroes seem much less heroic.
Megatron, it has come time to settle old scores.
Really, Starscream? All on your own?
Actually,
As much as the CG is amazing, and I think it is some of the best CG that's on television, I think one of the things we went in really wanting to do was to make sure we had a human story. I mean, you can have something that looks visually stunning, and if you don't care about the characters, it's no good.
And by human story, it extends to even beyond just our human cast. It's a human story from the perspective of our bots.
Yeah.
It's about telling their story, getting to know and learn about our bots in a way that you can't really do in a 2.5-hour movie.
I think that's why the series is so relatable, because we've tried to write to a level that is easy to connect. It's personal. They are Autobots, but they do have, they do have human qualities to them, dare we say, right? And we've done, I think, a really good job of balancing what the fans expect of the Transformers and being able to deliver that kind of emotional story.
Talk about the challenges that you guys face with season 2 versus season 1. What new sort of challenges came up for you guys?
One of the biggest, I think, is just creating new assets and the time that you get to create those things. With a season 1, even though it was limited, we still had a research and development time, which is a big chunk of the work, figuring out the look of the show, the characters. Now, granted, that's already figured out by the time we got into season 2, but now that development time is taken away, and we still have things. These first few episodes were on Cybertron, and we're in Kaon, and that's something we haven't seen before, and we're just jumping right into it. So you have to build a lot of upfront assets, and actually doing those as I believe as a 3 or 4-parter these first episodes. So we're actually treating those as one giant episode. So these guys are not just designing for the first episode, but the first 4. So, I mean, for me personally, that was a big challenge, because myself, at least, is still working on season 1 in post. So not being able to have that development time that we had in the first season, you're playing a lot of catch up. And
that was a tough challenge to start the second season for myself and my team. We had to design the look of Cybertron, and that's a pretty design heavy kind of challenge. When for the most part, all our action takes place and it's all earthbound, and we pay attention to what's realistic and scale, and what's believable as a built environment that everyone is kind of accustomed to. But then we're now at Cybertron, we have to address the lore of what Cybertron has looked like in the past, and what makes sense for a world that's built by machines, basically alien machines. So we had to kind of think about that. So the look, I mean, we try to create a world that is like machine kind of inspired. You'll see a lot of circular shapes that kind of allude to like a automobile engine or something like that. So took a lot of inspiration from that, and then just kind of made it feel very heavy and massive. So, but yeah, it was a very those first few episodes were tough to design and still capture kind of a cool, factor.
And then once you guys have built everything, then it would go where?
One of the things that we have on the show, being Transformers, is most of the time, once we bring a new character into the show, there's already a pre-existing design from either G1 or from a toy line or from another incarnation of Transformers. So, the first thing we always do, Dave and I and the brand team will sit together and we'll look at those old designs and we look at the elements that we want to keep and the things that we think are cool. So, and then it's just the meetings, look at the script, look at what the character's all about now, because I've said it throughout many interviews and the entire time we talked about the show is the main thing with our boss that we wanted to do is, although it's based on a toy line and we want to create a great product, for our show, our main purpose is to create a great actor. We want to make sure that design portrays the right personality, that even from the vehicle and how it transforms and becomes this robot, it still creates the sensibilities and it portrays the right personality. That's what we always try to that's our main goal to achieve.
So after these two guys have done their job designing basically like characters, which are basically the actors of the show, and environments, I take all this and basically my job would be kind of the same as a theater lighting set supervisor. Basically, I do paintings. First, a few color keys for the major sets in one episode.
I mean, winning. I knew you wouldn't say it.
And then, so for the main sets, I do a painting, and then in between we do like mini sketches, color sketches, to kind of link all this together and have a final visual of what the final image will look like. And all this, of course, still has to be supporting completely the characters and the storyline. So in a way, it's kind of an invisible kind of work, because all you're doing is just like putting color and texture and lighting out there, but totally supporting the storyline and characters.
Talk about the tone of season 2 versus season 1. How has that changed in the look and feel of the show?
I think by now at season 2, we kind of know what the stakes are. Season 1, we're introducing a lot of new characters. You're starting to learn who these kids are, and the kids are learning who the bots are. So it was kind of nice that the audience is actually growing as the characters are growing in the first season. With season 2, everybody knows who Megatron is, and but now there's new dynamics in play. There's Starscream, which side is he on? There's Arachnid now, so there's a lot of power struggles within the Decepticons, which is pretty cool. For me, it takes a slightly more serious tone in that, because there are these power plays. There's still a lot of fun in the series. But I just feel, again, tonal-wise, I don't want to say dark, but it's definitely a lot more serious, and there's a lot more at stake for everyone involved, especially when you get to the later episodes and we blow stuff up. All Vince's hard work gets destroyed, and then all Vince knows is like, oh, season 3, I don't have an HQ to go to. What do I do now?
We are excited that the base is gone. The base is actually very hard to, because can you get this here, right here? All right, so there's Ratchet, and he's at this little station over here that he's always at. Well, no one else really fits in that little space, so Optimus, who's actually this big compared to Ratchet, will walk up, and you got to somehow fit all these guys back here behind this.
He never gets in the base.
Well, he does in my episode,
that's
actually.
true, one episode.
In 25. So that's all I remember. I don't know the names of any of our shows. So it doesn't really work, and it's kind of a nightmare.
You each have very specific specialties and things that you bring to the table. How closely do you guys work together How important is communication in all this and the teamwork there?
Oh, we work really close together, and in fact, I'd say more so on this show than any show I've worked on before. Even though these guys in particular all have their very specific agendas and their skills that they bring to it, we still have a pretty open environment in that we know Jose's characters need to work in Vince's backgrounds, and they need to be lit correctly to make the cinematic and dynamic look that we're going for. So we do all work very close hand to hand, and we're also all very opinionated about each other's work and making sure it works. And other processes we've all been involved in, it's really compartmentalized, you know, and you got these people and then backgrounds and characters, and they don't talk and interact, and then it's usually once you get into animation coming back where you're just scratching your head going, oh yeah, maybe we should have asked what the other guy was doing. So yes, on a show of this magnitude, we the four of us work really close, I think.
Starting with the last 4 episodes of season 1, a pretty amazing arc, the Unicron arc, and then the cliffhanger. How much collaboration do you guys ever get together and sort of talk about what you're each going to do on your episodes and how that affects one another, and how does that go?
Absolutely. It's that simple. It's just opening up the communication, making sure we're all on the same page, that we're hooking up into the other show.
We have that a lot, actually. We have a number of 3-parters and 4-parters and stuff like that. And so actually I recall on that one, you had was it the beginning of my show? Originally, the end of your show was actually in the beginning of my show, and then which was show 25, and show 25 was so monstrously big that they were like, well, maybe we could just move that to Todd's show, and Todd gave me a thank you for that. But,
Yeah, a little more action. But yeah, I got to introduce Unicron
right
in my episode, and you got to do all the fun fight stuff.
Yeah, so we basically had to hook up and talk about where, how big are these guys, how many of them are going to be around Optimus, how are we going to handle his fighting style, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like blocking almost for like a live action film. You're really kind of setting your cameras where the characters are going to be.
What do you bring to the episodes in terms of your strengths, your fortes? Do we have someone who's more of a character driven person over an action driven person? Do you each like to take on both roles?
I think you have to take on both, but we definitely have our strengths. I know I'm the one guy that doesn't have the action background, so I come more from a traditional and film feature animation background, and these guys are definitely all action school, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
I'd say. Yeah, and well, a couple of us, we worked in primetime as well, so we got a little bit of the comedy on King of the Hill.
Right. Yeah, I've done comedy too.
Yeah. So we get, but we all kind of have to do it all to make a good show. You can't really.
End of the day, it's film language, so
yeah,
it all applies to storytelling.
You kind of have to have the strengths in all areas because every episode is going to have a character moment and a big action beat. So, but
I've learned, I've picked up from everybody.
Yeah.
You watch the other guys' shows and you
right.
kind of see what works, what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You try to bring that to the table.
That's definitely a thing. We all kind of learn from each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There are times when exactly there are times when I literally will just be like, no, it's this kind of shot can't work, whatever, and I'll just watch one of it and shows. I'm like, yeah, that just worked. Why did I give my board guy such a hard time? All right, well, let's just.
It's been an education for the executive producers from us, especially Jeff Klein. We've had to really kind of tell him what we like and don't like, and he follows that.
That's very fun.
So we'll have a new director on season 4.
Edit that out.
So where do you guys see Transformers Prime going? Where do you see it taking us?
Needless to say, we don't really want to spoil the future, but there's some phenomenal stuff cooking.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that what we did with Prime, and the intention from day one was to kind of take the best of G1, the best of animated, the best of everything in there, and kind of say this is our. That's why we call it Transformers Prime. This is our prime version of what Transformers is, and if you liked any aspect, if you liked the movies, if you liked this, there's a piece of it here for you. So in the first and second and third seasons of Transformers, the goal is to really tell the classic Transformers story to the best of our ability. And I think, in looking forward, it's exciting to take Transformers where it's never been before.
What do you guys look forward to going forward into Transformers? What do we get to look forward to as fans? What are you guys looking forward to as the show progresses?
Again, just personally, I love the characters. I love seeing where the characters go and what they end up doing and how they react to certain situations. I mean, we end season 2 with a pretty crazy situation going on. So seeing how these characters and actually getting to know what these characters are going to do, that's a lot of fun. I look forward to actually knowing what's coming and knowing that, oh my gosh, we're going to reach that point. That's going to be pretty amazing when we get there.
Yeah.
We're introducing a couple of new characters on both sides, and we explore how their introduction changes the dynamics of the different teams.
Absolutely, much as we did toward the end of season 2, with a character who, if this is on the season 2 DVD set, you probably already know. Yeah, Smokescreen, was we thought a great way to bring in sort of really sort of a jolt to the team. Really explore how it changes the dynamic, and I think at a certain point, just when the Autobots in many ways are sort of at their lowest ebb in season 2, is sort of a necessary, bolt of lightning, I guess.
Yeah, I'll make a sports analogy that Dwayne won't understand. It's like bringing up a rookie third baseman who energizes your veteran staff. It's baseball.
I'll say this. There are some things that were touched on in the Transformers movie back in the 80s there that we will be touching on, if that maybe is something.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
I think so. If everything was at a 10 in season 2, season 3 is going to get ratcheted right up to 11.
11.
There you go.
Expect the unexpected. Like you think it's going this way, and then it, wow.
Yeah.
It goes the other way.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I like that one.
I'd say that's actually pretty fair to say about the season. A lot of stuff you'll see, you'll go, what? Really? Are you kidding me? And then, nope, something else. And then,
Yeah.
Definitely.
There you go.